Okay, here we go. Awesome. Congratulations for investing in creativity today with us on AI Parenting Live. We are a judgment free community moving from screen time to quality time. And our motto is don't sedate, relate to create. And today's theme is all about creating with tech tips to help you be confident when you are live online. And that is a great example of what is happening today. Oh man, okay, it looks like it's going. So this is good. You know, lockdown has moved everyday work meetings and presentations to all be live online. Maybe you're getting more comfortable in front of the camera, or maybe you've already seen a number of tips on how to do live streaming. Now, if you've seen live translations in your video meetings, then you know that there's an audience for your live presentations, a new audience that is AI. This is even more important if your presentations are going to be published online, since an AI will look for very different things than people do. Now, often I'm asked, what camera, what microphone, or streaming tool do I use for my live streams like this one? And since the technology improves so quickly, any advice that I give you today will likely become outdated in just a few months' time. And this is exactly why it's so important to understand the first principles of recreating the face to face experience. And so that is what I'm going to the face to face experience it, and also being able to measure engagement and to focus on the practice of writing down your learnings. So before I continue, I just want to make sure that if you can hear me, please type yes in the chat. It really helps me know that the stream is actually working. We've had some technical challenges, obviously, at the beginning of this. So I really do want to make sure that you're able to hear me. So I can see somebody on Facebook. I can see somebody on Periscope. If you could just write like yes, that would really help me out to make sure that I'm actually live and that you can actually hear me. Any comments that you have would be helpful. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to maybe type in Facebook, maybe. Just check my profile. I'll just see. Yes, I can see myself. Oh, I see Edna saying, hi, Ed. Okay, thank you so much, Edna. Okay, whew. That helps me a lot. It gives me some clarification that I can hear you. So thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Okay, so now, even if you do meetings live for the most part, and you don't really plan on making any videos public, you're going to gain some new insights today into what is happening behind the scenes for the videos that we see online and the reasons why certain videos get recommended over others. And so, like, I guess another question would be like, why am I doing this? Um, what's interesting, like, let me just tell you a story. So this person said, when I speak with you, it feels like we're not competing, was what George Valenzuela told me. George is an ed tech coach who is a passionate speaker on the topic of equity and social emotional learning. And it's someone that I plan to share with you live in April. And I responded by saying, yeah, I see anyone who speaks on the topic of helping others through equity, creativity, or relating as an ally in our fight against big tech and AI. The fight isn't against other people who advocate for creativity. The fight is against AI proctoring or monitoring of how you work, learn, socialize, and how that will profoundly affect our society. Some of you in education see this already in universities, where the biggest book publishers like McGraw-Hill are pouring billions of dollars into AI proctoring technology that's going to monitor your webcam your microphone, your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth to determine if you're cheating in an online test. This technology is real. And so we are at a major crossroads in the world of education and the world of work. We can either choose to maintain the existing system of standardized tests using and standardized test like measured work using increasingly powerful AI technology, or we can move towards a manual, human focused, creative type learning. And this is where it really comes in. The reality is that there are billion-dollar investments that are not in creative learning, and rather, the money is going towards this more powerful AI proctoring. So, if we're fighting against each other in this space, then we're going to lose. We're definitely going to lose. And so that's exactly why I want to give your creative best practices this unfair advantage in the marketplace. Because once you've moved beyond um, using screen time to sedate and then to relate, then it's time to think about creating to disrupt the status quo. So I hope this works. We shall see. Push the button. So today we are going to be covering. Oh yes, I forgot to push this button. I see. Okay, so today we're going to explore first how to use tech to recreate the face-to-face experience. Then we're going to talk about how to engage live, like in live conversations online. And finally, we're going to talk about how to continually improve your live streams by listing those improvements. So I just want to make sure everyone's ready to go. If you are, please pop something into the chat. I would really appreciate it. It would help me out a lot to know that you are able to hear this. Yes. I know it takes a little bit of time, but take your time. Just let me know in the chat. That would help me a lot. I just want to make sure that I am you're still with me here. Okay. Yes? This should be off. Yeah, good. Okay. Can you hear me? Am I still live? Just want to make sure that you are still able to hear me. Weird. Seem to have lost everyone. So, I want to maybe I'll redo that last part, I guess. I'm not sure if everyone heard. So, today we are exploring tech tips to help you be more confident live. And what we're going to explore is three things. So the first is, how do we use tech to recreate the face-to-face experience? And then next, we are going to explore how do we engage people live. And then finally, the last thing we will do is look at a list. How do we continually improve your live streams by listing those improvements? So I hope you're ready to go. Let's keep going. So maybe I got too cold, too warm in here because that happens some of the time. Okay, so face to face. So the purpose of most video conferencing technology is to get you as close as possible to a live face-to-face conversation. If you So let me hide this, and then let me show you the live face-to-face. So there are three aspects. So the purpose of most video conferencing technology is to get as close as possible to the live face-to-face conversation. If you think about how us chatting live today differs from being in person, you'll see that we need to compensate for some of the conferencing technology weaknesses, such as hearing in a noisy environment and seeing in low light, maybe reducing the lag in online conversations, and looking at a person rather looking at them in the eye rather than looking off to the side. So when you speak to another person in a noisy environment like a concert or a restaurant, you are still able to have a conversation because our ears, let me hide this slide. Our ears do a phenomenal job at isolating only the sounds that we want to hear. Unfortunately, this is not the case for most microphones, especially those that are on your laptop, because the effective range of most laptop microphones is 4 to 6 inches, and most of them are more on the 4 inches side. So that is, you need to be at the distance of like the edge of the keyboard. Like your mouth needs to be close to the edge of the keyboard in order to be heard well. And so you can imagine that's going to be a real problem. And so that's exactly why so many live streamers, they opt for external microphones. While most laptop and cell phone mics have an omnidirectional pickup, many shotgun mics, so shotgun mics like this one, will pick up more sound in the direction that they're pointed at, so at the front. Another approach that works for podcasters is to use a high quality mic close to their mouth. And that's what I'm using here. You can see like this is a large diaphragm microphone. And if you need to move around a lot, and that happens, you will want to get something like a wireless headset mic. And so what you see here is an example of a wireless headset mic. It has a pack for the sender, and it has another pack for the receiver, where you're going to receive the audio signal. And the purpose of getting that mic closer is to get within those 4 to 6 inches away. This is not only going to improve an AI's translation of your voice, but it will also make it sound like you are closer to those on the live stream. Often, video conferencing tools will automatically spotlight the person who is speaking the loudest. So the volume of your mic is very important. Now, you can also make parts of the softer parts of your voice louder using something known as compression. Now, compression, it automatically increases the volume when you are speaking softly, and it decreases the volume when you are louder. So in the past, you needed special equipment to do all of this. But today, there are some mics like the Shure MV88 that have compression built in. And let me show you what that looks like. So I want to first show you, let me show you a video about compression. Hopefully this works. I'm going to switch my camera. Okay, first of all, with audio, one thing that we know is that most microphones, they only work about 4 inches to 6 inches away from the actual mic. So if you are not like directly here or like really close, even if you have a laptop, the sound is really not going to be great. So what do? So one approach is that people will use a microphone like this one. This is a shotgun microphone, and it has a polar pattern, which just means that the sound comes out straight. It comes out straight from the microphone, and this one has like an active battery. So this is the Rode Video Micro Pro, but there are versions that I've used that don't need batteries as well. And so for convenience, that might be one good way to get straight.
There are other techniques that people use. So, for example, if you do podcasting, let me show you what that looks like. What I use is a podcasting mic. This is an AKG C414. And so what it is a large diaphragm podcasting mic, and you'll see underneath what it has is just a small windscreen, and that will block a lot of the sound that you might hear. And one of the key things about these types of podcasting mics is that people can connect them to something called compression. And let me show you what that means. So can I make this bigger so you can see? So if I take my screen and I just make it a lot bigger, what you can see here is it automatically is able to take a certain amount of sound and then boost it. So it can take the vocal range, so that is the vocal range between 128 hertz all the way up to about 2K. Sometimes it's like you go a little bit higher, but really the voice component is mostly in this middle. So I just make that higher. I make the super high stuff a little bit lower, and I make the super low stuff a little bit lower as well. But some people, if you have a lower voice, you're going to have to adjust this as needed. Now, this normally costs money, like a lot of money, because in order to send this information out, here's what you need to do. Like I need to go from the microphone here, and it's connected to a Apogee Duet, right? So that's like an audio interface, as you can see over here, which is not easy. And then that's actually connected to my computer, to a separate computer that I do just for audio. And you can imagine, like, come on, like most people are not gonna go and invest in something like this. But that's okay, because there are microphones like the Shure MV88 that already do this for you. So that's one example.
Okay, so I hope that made sense. What I'm trying to do here is just explain that often when you have a face-to-face conversation, you show that you are fully engaged with the other person also when you look them directly in the eye. And when you look away, it seems like we're focused on something or someone else. So as much as possible, you want to be looking in the middle of the camera lens. And this can be as simple as putting your video in a small window that is at the top of your laptop screen, close to where your camera is. And this forces you to look up in order to see yourself. There is a more advanced technique of having a camera behind a teleprompter. And then this way, you'll be looking directly into the lens when you're speaking. Now, I've got a small monitor that I use to show the people that I'm speaking to. And so it's as close to having a face-to-face conversation as possible. And so let me open up another video, and I just want to show you what that looks like, just so that it's more clear of how do I get eye contact with a teleprompter. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to show you how I do a lot of my scripts. So I use an app called Prompt Smart Pro on the teleprompter, and I just put my phone, like you literally see, like this is just my phone, it doesn't appear in the camera. And if I say, congratulations for investing in creativity today with us on AI Parenting Live. We are a judgment-free community moving from screen time to quality time. Our motto is don't sedate, relate to create. And today's theme is all about creating with tech tips to be confident when you are live online. Okay. Sorry, switching back. So the next is the rods and the cones of the human eye give us this incredible ability to see both the bright sky and the details of shadows from clouds at the same time. It's estimated that the human eye has the dynamic range of 24 f-stops, which is almost double that of the best DSLR camera that you can buy on the market. In practice, most laptop web cameras or selfie cameras have about 1/4 to 1/8 the dynamic range of our eyes. And this means that they have a really hard time making your face easy to see when the wall behind you is white and it's so bright compared to your face. And so there are two ways to get around this issue. The first is to use a camera with more dynamic range, but this can cost thousands of dollars. The cheaper method is to be close to a window or to get a ring light close to your face or a webcam that includes a ring light. This has the added benefit of making you the brightest thing in the picture. And this is good because we are wired to look at the brightest spots. And that's also why, if you look behind me, I've painted the walls of my room a darker color. But that said, like the eyes do wander, so make sure you have things on the walls that you want others to look at. So maybe I will, at this time, show you what does that look like. What does like lighting look like? Eye contact. Light here. All right, here we go.
Now you can use a ring light, but another approach that you can also use is a box light. And I am a huge fan of these soft boxes. And I'll show you why. Because as somebody who wears glasses, if I, come on.
I may need to skip some stuff.
Okay. So as somebody who wears glasses, if you are too close to a ring light, do you see how like there's a ring? You can see like a ring reflection off of my glasses. That is what happens when you're like really close to a ring light. You will see the ring. And so if you have a soft box, for example, it makes everything brighter, right? But it doesn't create like a box, you know, it's just a softer light. So it just diffuses the light in a really significant way. And so you'll see many live streamers, they will use soft boxes because soft boxes is really the next level for lighting. It gives you a much cleaner look without the kind of weird reflection in your glasses. So whatever light you can do, like, I mean, if you can find a lamp or something in your house, that's going to make a huge difference for your lighting setup.
And we're back. So when it comes to which camera to get, think of each pixel on the camera sensor like a bucket. And it's there to hold light. And so the larger the sensor, the larger the bucket that you have to hold light. And it also means that you're going to get more dynamic range. You're going to get a little bit more image quality, especially when it comes to low light situations. Now, most phone cameras, and not just phone cameras, but let's say like snap filters or even like Zoom, they use AI to improve image quality. This means that the speed of your computer is going to have an impact on the quality of your image when you're live, which is going to bring me to my next point. And I hope this works. All right. So engaging live. And there's two parts I'm going to talk about. Like the first is about lag, and it's about keeping it simple so that you have opportunities for people to give input. Now, when you're in a face-to-face conversation, you can respond immediately. You can watch a person's facial expression to see if they're following or if they're confused. If you've ever tried to do, say, karaoke or singing in a video conference, you'll know that there can be a huge delay between the music and your singing. And we can try to reduce this delay on our end by using multiple computers. But ultimately, we're going to have to interact with the audience in a different way, especially when we're live. When you're on a video conference, your computer is doing a lot of things at the same time. It's trying to improve your video image, It's trying to compress the video into a smaller format, and it's trying to encrypt the video so that others can't easily see it. And so the result is sometimes a delay in performance that comes from the computer itself that we're using. And so many students that had those older Chromebooks, they noticed right in September that when they tried to do other things like open slides or have a poll during a live class, that it slowed down to the point that it maybe didn't even work. And this is exactly why your slides running slowly, like your slides run slow, or your computer lags when you try to do things like play a video. And you can see, like, I played several videos during this presentation, but how do I do it? So certainly buying a faster laptop, it can help, but it's expensive. And it can still lag if you're doing anything processor intensive. Fortunately, the gaming community has actually solved this problem for us using tools such as this one. This is the Elgato HD60S. And what it does is a capture card, and it turns an HDMI input into a web camera on your laptop. So you just plug in like an HDMI input, which could be another laptop, and then that becomes a web camera on your laptop. This way, you can have one laptop for your video game or your presentation, and then you can have another which is connected for live streaming. So like this would be the video game computer, and then you'd have another one which is just focused on just figure out the live streaming, just do that well. And that's really, really powerful because that's going to give you a lot of more ability to do more things without having to worry about it lagging all the time. Now, you can take this idea even further with dedicated hardware, like the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro that acts as a web camera and also allows you to switch between four of these HDMI inputs. The true potential of the ATEM Mini Pro comes when you connect a network cable so that you can send your live video directly to the streaming service, such as Restream. Now, I've been using this for a lot of my restreams because it gives way better performance, because that compression, all of that work is done by the ATEM Mini Pro instead of by my laptop, which means that everything runs smoother. The laptop runs smoother. Everything is running smoother. So maybe I'll show you a video of what that looks like as well, because I think this will hopefully give you some sense of how all of this stuff comes together. Okay, here we go.
Switch between multiple inputs, I use something called the ATEM Mini Pro, and it's powerful for two reasons. The first is because it allows me to switch between multiple inputs. The example that I'll show you is switching from here to my Mac, right? So it allows me to even put my camera image in there. It does green screen and everything as well, which is amazing. And it allows me to switch between different cameras. So now I'm facing this camera right here. So that's pretty cool, right? That this is able to handle the different types of images and different resolutions, right? And so it's just another powerful tool. And so being able to switch between inputs is powerful. But in addition, you can see it has something very powerful here in the Pro, which is a network cable. And that network cable is directly connected to my network in order to allow me to do streaming. And let me show you what that means. So what I mean by this is you want to be able to not have to consume a lot of computing resources in order to send your stream. And sending the stream means a lot of computing power. They have to compress the video and then send it. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that with this example, because once you've taken the video, you can very easily compress it and you can convert it into different formats inside the ATEM Mini Pro. That does the streaming for you. So now your computer can be then focused on other things like showing your slides or something else. And that's why I emphasize like having other devices, splitting your computing up as much as possible will make a big difference. It will make everything smoother. There will be less lag. You will see less like hiccups in terms of your presentations. Things are going to go a little bit more smoother also because you have backups. Now, the disadvantage is it does make things more complicated. And that's where the next part where you need to have a checklist of improvements, it comes in. Thanks.
Okay. And so we're back. I think this is really important because yes, you get better. Here's the reality. Like in a face-to-face conversation, you'd never just talk straight for like an hour without giving others like a chance to respond. And so a good rule of thumb is like engaging like every 2 to 3 minutes to make sure that we don't lose anybody. And that's one of the things that I want to do here is this making sense so far? Do you have any questions? Is this sinking in? Is this useful for you? Give me some feedback so I know that I'm on the right pace. And I want to make sure that this is useful for you. That's why we're doing it. So please, if you can, just write like a comment or something. I just want to make sure that I still got you, and everything is still making sense. Yes. So we have a couple on Facebook, and we have a couple on Periscope. Hope it makes sense to you. Teachers in a classroom, they can watch the facial expressions of their students to know if everyone understands. So what can you do when you're live and people don't have webcams on? Well, what we have to do is we have to make those implicit things like nods or confused expressions. They're like, I don't get it. Like normally if you're in a classroom, you see those things. You got to make them explicit in the chat. Ask, are you getting it? Is this sinking in? Put yes in the chats. Put yes in the comments. Yes? Oh, Eric's here. Okay, great. Right? So those simple things, it's key to make it very easy to respond. Like start with a simple yes or a no rather than some complicated question, because we want to make it easy and you need that type of feedback, especially in a live presentation. Now, it's important to remember that there may be a 30 to 60 second delay between when you say something and when you get a response. Just think about it. Like to type in the chat on a mobile device, you need to click the chat icon, and then you need to click the text bar, and then you need to type in your response, and then you need to send it. And so you need to be a lot more patient than when having a face-to-face conversation. People want to respond, but it takes time. It actually takes a lot of time. And so I found that it helps if you tell people that you will be asking for their response in advance. Like say, okay, in a moment, I will be asking for your response. I'm going to ask you to say yes or no in the comments. You should open up the chat now, and then you explain the question. And then this way, there's time for them to get ready to open up the chat, which takes a few seconds anyways. And then when you ask the question, you're going to get the response a little bit quicker. A face-to-face conversation is always filled with like props that serve as topics for discussion. Because like if we're in the same space, the whole environment becomes different props that I can point to. But these days, there is way too much reliance on just using like slides, like PowerPoint slides or Google Slides as the main prompt for discussion. And just think about it. You would never just stare at a prop. Like let's say we had a prop like this. you would never just like stare at that for like one whole hour. And that's why I often like to use the ATEM Mini Pro to overlay things like video or as a circle on top of my slides. There's a number of reasons. And then the point is you just want to bring up the slides only as needed and then return back to the face-to-face conversation. Because people want to engage with other people and not a deck of slides. So when this like slide is massive and that's all you see, like that's not really what people want to engage with, right? You don't want to like engage with like the slide deck. No, you want to engage with the person. Now, I know if you're like me and you don't feel comfortable speaking for 45 minutes without a script, then there are apps. And I showed you the Prompt Smart Pro that uses a voice recognition AI to automatically advance a script so that all you need to do is basically read the script or the main points. Now, should we use it or should we not? Should we just have some main points? There are many different opinions about using scripts, and I think it depends on how you use it. So if you're just going to read it in a monotone, then it's better to just have some key points so that you can speak naturally. But what I've learned is that all the best keynote speakers that I know, they use scripts. They're all written in a conversational tone through the voice of the speaker, and it allows the speaker to focus their efforts on getting the right tonality and the right expression rather than presenting the content in the right sequence and having the right kind of opportunities to ask questions. And I can tell you, as a presenter with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, having a script has been a lifesaver for me because it allows me to remove technical distractions and focus on the expression and deeply thinking about your comments and questions. It gives me opportunities. It reminds me like, hey, I need to engage you every few minutes. It also reminds me exactly which screen transitions I need to do. When do I need to switch cameras? Especially when I'm doing it live, it allows me to have a consistent quality experience from presentation to presentation. And another benefit is that the script also helps me turn my talks into a blog post or even a future chapter of the AI parenting book that I'm working on. And most importantly, it allows me to modify my scripts so that I can have the elements in my improvement list always included. Now, before I go into the improvement list, is this all making sense so far? Is it sinking in? Is it valuable for you? If you can, I'm going to ask if you can put in a yes in the chat. It really helps me know that I'm on the right track for this. And I know there's a delay. That's okay. It takes time. It takes time. So that's what I wanted to ask is, okay, if this is making sense, I'm hoping that it is. The point of this is, how do I engage you? How do I not just keep talking for like an hour? And that's my goal is like, I don't want it to be a one-way conversation. I want it to be a two-way conversation. So let's go back. Okay. Yes. Okay, good. So the next one is your your improvement list or your improve list. And Those of you who have been watching my live streams for some time have probably seen a ton of mistakes that I've made. One time I accidentally muted the audio. Last week, we heard a delay or an echo during the live stream. During an interview, I've had the video lag because there wasn't enough bandwidth problem. Everything. Like, I've even lost power in the middle of a live stream. And one time, the streaming service, no, not just one time, like multiple times, the streaming service itself would not start, even after I restarted my computer, right? Like, so in terms of problems, I've experienced pretty much all of them. And I want you to know that it was my most embarrassing moments. Though it was those times when I questioned if I was really suited for doing live presentations. It was the times when I was most humbled by technology that I learned the most. If we are too afraid to fail, then we will never try and we will never learn. When our live video is not working, it is easy to blame technology. I've got an old computer, or I hate Google Meet. Or we can even blame our own tech competence. You can go, you know what, I'm just not a techie. But that won't help us improve. The only thing that does help is asking the question, why? Why did the video not work? Was it because another program was using the video? Does restarting the computer solve the problem? We need to build a habit of celebrating failures because we are really celebrating learning. After one really bad live stream, I decided to finally write down all of the mistakes that I had made into an improvement list. My goal was to write down the cause of the mistake and the way that I would resolve this issue in the future. I would reward myself every time I came up with a way to avoid those mistakes in the future. Now, for some, a reward is what? Chocolate. Like, what's a reward for you? How come my voice changes when I switch cameras? Oh, that's interesting. That's something I'm going to have to look into. It shouldn't. But I think I know why. It's because there's a cast. So good question, Eric. Walk me through how you put that side improvement list. Okay. Yes. I'll cover that afterwards. So, for some, your reward is chocolate. For me, it's buying tech gadgets. At times, the solution has required that I buy some tech equipment in order to help me solve this issue. Or sometimes I have to pay for a subscription to a software tool that would save me time. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm always learning and improving. The tech tips that I'm sharing with you today are really just scratching the surface of what I've learned over time. Honestly, it would take days or maybe even weeks to share with you all of the tips and the tricks that I've learned over time. And so that's exactly why I want to put together the lessons that I've learned into a creator, like, kind of masterclass. Like, ideally a course that goes into the details of being more confident live, from not only the equipment that will best serve your goals to also strategies for engaging a live audience, to even reusing the video from a live play in the future. So, for example, every, let's say, 45-minute to an hour live stream that I do, it's turned into a 60-second video, and it's turned into three 60-second video previews. It's turned into three 10-minute videos and one podcast and one blog post. And so if you want to know how this is done, I want you to reach out to me. Just send me a message because I'm planning on creating this like circle for creators. And I'd like to know like what specific things you'd like me to cover in a course. And I already mentioned before, so let's see if I can bring this up one more time. The AI Parenting Insider. I'd love to stay in contact with you. My goal is, I think today I did send out an email reminder, just to let you know, like, hey, here's what happened this week. Here's the podcast you can check out. Here is the live stream that happened today. Like it basically has most of the details just in one easy format. So you can just see everything very easily. So I hope that you were able to see it. And I hope it was helpful for, yes, okay, yes. Okay, cool. So I'm going to hide the slides one last time. Yeah, okay, cool. So I can see a few comments already. So the first one was, how do I walk through the slides? How you put that side slide improvement list. Okay, so there's a lot of tips and tricks that I didn't have time to cover. I don't quite have time to fully go into the Stream Deck and some of the things that I'm doing with graphics, but it's basically like a green screen overlay that actually works with the ATEM Mini, and I want to go into it further. But if you want me to like go into the details of exactly how that's done, let me know. I can add that for next time. And Eric was asking, how come your voice changes when you switch cameras? So let me switch cameras again. So what I've done is I've muted the microphone, and so I should be now in a live mode where you should just be. Maybe the voice sounds different because I'm pointing at a different area. If I was back here closer to the microphone, maybe it would be more clear because the sound should only be coming from here in theory. So that could be another reason why it's not working. But it's always good to experiment, to try. And my goal with having a different camera view is that you don't have to constantly look at like one thing. It's kind of boring sometimes just to look at one person. And so yes, that's it. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Eric. I do appreciate it. So yeah, it helps me debug what is going on. These are the kind of technical things that I need to learn as well. Oh, I forgot you're on this side. So let's see. Just want to make sure I've covered all of the questions so far. Yes. Okay. So I want to encourage you, right? Like we are all working towards the same type of goal. We're all working towards creativity. And I would love to see us grow in that aspect together, right? Like we want to be able to show that, yeah, we are improving together, we are learning together. And so hopefully in the future, we will cover a few more topics in more detail, depending on what is going to be most useful for you. But I do think that the key here is that live engagement is really important because as much as possible, we are trying harder and harder to get towards a face-to-face experience. We want to be able to look like we are speaking to the other person directly. Now, technology is not super suited for recreating the exact conditions of a face-to-face experience. And if you understand some of the limitations of technology, you are going to be much better suited, or it's going to be much easier for you to speak to all of the to really address those concerns, address the limitations of technology, and get closer to having something that feels like a face-to-face conversation. And so I hope that makes sense. I do appreciate your time. And I want to say, like, ultimately, I'm here for you guys. I mentioned at the beginning, I never see anybody who is creative as competition. We are all working towards the same goal, and we want to see creativity flourish because our time, in especially the time for our children, the world that they're growing up into is is changing dramatically. And the kind of work skills and the stuff that we grew up with feels so wrong or feels so different compared to how we grew up. And unless we start learning more about that world, the world that our kids live in, I it's interesting. I just did a search, a Google search, the other day, and maybe I should show this to you. But it's crazy. Like you Google search, why do parents? And do you have any idea what the response is? Like, what are the top Google searches? Why do parents? What would be the top response? Put your guess in the chat. I would love to see it because I'm very curious about what you think would be the ideal experience. Because I'm just going to pop it up now. Why do parents? Why do parents? Check it out. Here's the answer. Number 1. Why do parents hate Roblox? Why do parents hate Roblox? That's the top one. Why do parents never listen? Why do parents hate the middle child? Why do parents yell? Why do parents lie about Santa? Like, there is this whole other dimension of, like, kids really want to connect with their parents. They wanna have that relationship, but it's not easy. It is not easy. And so, that's kind of my goal, is to figure out, well, what are the things that we can do to build a better connection with our kids and the things that they are really engaged with, and to understand a little bit of where does this all come from? This, like, oh, parents don't like this, and there's this attitude. I think thinking of ways that we can connect with the gaming community, thinking of ways that we can connect with our kids, is very useful. And I think we need a few more strategies than what's being presented. So that's my goal for next week, is to present some of those strategies. And so I hope this is helpful for you. And it is a different environment, and so don't feel too bad if you haven't got all this figured out today. This is the way things are, and this is why we are here. This is why we have AI parenting. It's not because we were really keen on learning about all this AI stuff, but it's the world that they live in, that our children live in, and it's about being prepared for that world. And we live in it too. Like, let's be honest, like we are in more and more live meetings these days, and we don't have a choice, right? We have to be in these meetings, and we need to be more present. We need to figure out how we can engage people live. It's not easy. This is not an easy skill, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning today, and so I hope that this was helpful. You'll join me, hopefully, in the future to learn more about where this is going to go. And thank you. I really appreciate it. I will speak to you all soon. Bye bye.